Nigeria records 3.4% economic growth in 2021. Federal Inland Revenue Service FIRS and Nigeria Communications Commission NCC inaugurate joint committee to boost national revenue generation. And on the stock market, NGX All Share Index gains as it records 52,000 points this week. This is Business Express on the network service of the NTA, and we are reaching you from Abuja, the nation's capital. I'm the Akating Babatunde. You're welcome. We begin the program by informing you that latest figures from the National Bureau of Statistics show that at the end of the third quarter of 2021, Nigeria's real GDP at basic prices grew by 4.03% on a year-on-year basis, showing a steady improvement from the economic downturn in 2020. The report shows that growth, however, improved further in the fourth quarter of 2021 with positive GDP growth rate of 3.98%. The negative quarterly growth in Q2 and Q3 2020 resulted in a recession, which led to a negative annual growth rate of 1.92% for 2020 compared to 2.27% in 2019 on a year-on-year basis. Household consumption expenditure in Q3 and Q4 2021 grew by 19.36% and 7.3% in real terms year-on-year in 2021. Government consumption expenditure recorded growth rates of negative 39.51% and minus 16.76% in Q3 and Q4 2021 year-on-year. National disposable income fell by 1.48% in the third quarter of 2021 and 2.84% in the fourth quarter of 2021. Compensation of employees during the third and fourth quarters of 2021 grew by 14.54% and 11.79% in real terms. The Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission (FCCPC) stated that every airline should fix its fares in accordance with its own revenue model, as there won't be a mutual understanding of the increase in airfares. This was disclosed by FCCPC's Chief Executive Officer Babatunde Rukera as flight delays persist despite federal government's assurance of a 6 million litre supply. This is coming days after Nigeria's aviation industry has been rocked by jet fuel prices protest by airlines, which has seen the House of Representatives intervene, asking the NNPC to sell aviation fuel to marketers at 480 naira per litre until the month of August. In line with the federal government's plan to diversify the economic base of the country and create jobs, onion farmers and processors have developed an onion recovery plan, which targets an average steady growth of 20% each year from 2020 to 2026. To this end, 12 member states of the association are benefiting from funding from the federal government Anchor Borrowers Program, with 6 states to begin in this wet season, in addition to adopting a technology that preserves onions for up to 4 months. This is with a view to increase volume of exports.
We have had a successful distribution of starter packs and training on the management of pop-up lodge. In collaboration with Federal Ministry of Agriculture in Kebbi State, Sokoto, and Zamfara.
The National Pensions Commission, PENCOM, last month announced that all pension fund administrators, PFAs, have complied with the Commission's directive for the increase of the minimum regulatory capital from 1 billion naira to 5 billion naira. The Commission had approved the recapitalization exercise for the PFAs with a 12-month transition period from 27 April 2021 to 27 April 2022. PENCOM said the exercise became expedient as the value of pension fund assets under management and custody had grown exponentially by 244% from 3 trillion naira in 2012 to 12.29 trillion naira as of December 31, 2020. Now, what does this imply for the Economy and Pension Administration? Dr. Ihememe Ohioma, Head Surveillance Department, National Pension Commission, PENCOM, is here to answer these and more. Thank you for coming on the program, Doctor.
Thank you.
Great. So we start by looking at the recapitalization. 1 billion to 5 billion under 1 year. It seems a very easy task. Was it that easy?
It wasn't easy, but it was achievable. The Commission had done some background activities and checks to ensure that the PFAs have the capacity to improve, firstly, on their services, and the requirement for the 5 billion would also ensure that they engage and retain good quality staff. The pension business is a retail business, and it requires high setup costs as well as huge, significant administrative costs. So you require very robust infrastructure, ICT infrastructure, as well as a good network of branches and service centers to be able to attend to the contributors. And this requires huge capital. And so it was just expedient for the Commission to increase the minimum regulatory capital. And as you all know, the last increase was done in 2012. As at that time, there were 24 PFAs, and there was consolidation within the industry. So at the end of the recapitalization exercise, it reduced to 20 PFAs. And there were new licenses issued to PFAs also within the period. And so at the end of this recapitalization exercise, which expired on 27th of April 2022, there were consolidation. And the number of PFAs have, you have 20 PFAs currently. And so it was a largely successful exercise, and it's brought in new investors into the pension industry. There's been some mergers and acquisitions.
Yeah, I was going to ask you how that went.
Yeah, well, it's the pension industry is the new bride in the financial sector in Nigeria. It's a very stable business. And because of the way the contributory pension system is designed, it's mandatory, so you have employees making contributions on a monthly basis in addition to that made by their employers, so you have a steady flow of contributions coming in on a monthly basis. I don't think there's any other sector within the financial space that has that design. For banking, insurance, the capital markets, it's voluntary, but this is a mandatory system. So it's very attractive to any business, financial, company.
Okay, so what would this mean for pension administration and the country at large? You mentioned that pensions is the new bride per se. So technically, what does it mean?
Well, on the part of the contributors, it means improved services. So you would expect for the pension fund administrators to provide top-notch customer experience to the contributors. And for the pension fund administrators, what it means is that they now have increased capacity to improve their operational efficiency and effectiveness, as well as be able to expand the scope of their businesses. And for the economy, for the Nigerian economy, once the scope of business is increased, it means the available pool of funds, pension funds, is available to the government, to private sector, to business enterprises to be able to access these funds and develop, bring up development in the Nigerian economy. So you now have increased pool of funds. The PFs are able to go into more businesses like the micro pension scheme. I think that's the next stage in the pension industry, and it's going to be, the informal sector is much larger than the formal sector in Nigeria. And so currently the number of registered contributors is 9.5 million. But from statistics, the working population in Nigeria is between 60 to 80 million.
So there's a lot of work to be
So
done.
there's a lot of work to do, and so the Commission has come up with a micro pension scheme, and it's going to be much bigger than this formal sector. So we expect to see in the next 10 years the number of registered contributors increase from 9.5 million to not less than 20 to 25 million. And so this recapitalization is going to kind of like improve and increase the capacity of the PFAs to be able to launch into that micro pension and provide, more services to the contributors.
Okay, you get to hear people say, oh, what are they doing with my money? Are you sure when I need it, if they're investing my money, that I'm going to get it back? Do you get those complaints?
Also, the pension industry it has the strictest regulatory environment in the Nigerian financial sector on a daily basis. The Commission monitors the investment activities of the pension fund administrators. So there are strict guidelines on what they can do, where they can invest the funds in, and this is supervised on a daily basis. I don't think there's any sector within financial space that does that. So this is just to ensure, because the scheme is mandatory, you're forcing people to save, so you have to also give them confidence that their funds are safe and that when they retire, they will get their retirement benefits. And I don't think there's been any case of anybody retiring and not getting the benefits, not under this current regulatory
Because maybe it
scope.
doesn't come when we anticipate as early.
Those are other issues.
Yeah.
There are other issues at play. But in terms of the safety and security of the funds, it is it's very robust.
Okay, so before I let you go, what does the future of pension administration look like? You've made some forecast for the next 10 years. I mean, there's the 9%, and we're looking at 60-something percent. And of course, there are concerns that by some contributors that they don't get their money when they expect that when they just retire, if they can get it easily. Some are saying they stay out as long as 1 year. Is there anything in the framework that in the future we can reduce this concern?
I think that will be a thing of the past. Some of there are some extraneous factors that resulted in that, and that's been addressed.
Oh, great.
And that also applies only to federal government employees. The private sector employees under the scheme do not have that. The moment they retire, the next Monday start collecting their pensions. I don't think there's a platform for us to talk about that, but that has been likely been addressed by the federal government, in providing the accrued rights, funds to pay the accrued rights. That's been the delay. And so for the future, it's only going to get better in terms of service delivery, in terms of the pool of funds, increasing the pool of funds, so you also have available pool of funds to be able to, for us to be able to kind of develop our economy, and you have PFAs also that are well skilled, have robust ICT infrastructure to be able to deliver good customer experience to contributors. So I think the future is it's very, very, very bright, and it's going to be very exciting.
Okay, if I can drop this one, the stock market has also been tremendously doing well this week. I mean, very impressive figures, and we also note that the PFAs are also doing well in that. How is Pencom taking that?
Well, it's good for each and every one of us, especially the contributors. We are contributors too. So if all sectors of the economy, the capital markets, the banking, as well as the insurance, in which the PFAs invest in, because they invest in all these various sectors. So if they're doing well, it means it's all well for the contributors who are in the pension scheme. So we pray it continues.
Okay, I must sincerely thank you, Dr. Ihoma, for coming on the program. And Doctor is the head surveillance department at Pencom. Have a nice day.
Thank you.
Okay, so we move on to our special segment, Surviving COVID-19.
Surviving COVID-19 series is brought to you in partnership with the Central Bank of Nigeria.
My name is Agnes Johnson. This business I started last year. I started as partnering with somebody, so later I get to move to be on my own personally, and then it has not been easy though, but thank God we are moving on. At first I worked for the person for like 2 years. Later we moved to being partners in the business. So we were partners for like 6 to 8 months. Then before I now started on my own. During that lockdown, I stopped working for the person around that March, and the lockdown started in March exactly. So now I stay in Dubai. So I decided to start my own then. But it wasn't easy because of finance. During that lockdown, there is no money. The little one you save, you have to use it to eat, and other expenses. So as the money is reducing, I said, okay, let me use it for something so that at least it will be bringing in something little by little. But somehow I fell into 419 that duped me and all my capital gone. So I was unable to continue the business. So and then I have to start doing some other small jobs again. In fact, during that lockdown, if I tell you it wasn't easy, as in it wasn't easy at all, because when that morning, when all my capital, I was left with 0 naira. This kind of business have to do with location. You need location and you need capital. Because when you have enough money, anytime, any amount of money that people want to withdraw or send, you have a lot in the account for you to send out, and you have a lot at hand for you to give out for people that want to withdraw. If I have CBN loan now, though I will invest in this business, and also I will invest in transportation, because I love transport, as in I know that there is money there.
Surviving COVID-19 series is brought to you in partnership with the Central Bank.
The federal government, through the National Council on Privatization, has approved the reform of Calabar and Kano Free Trade Zones through concession for the upscale of foreign and domestic investments. Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment Adeni Adebayo, in a roadshow, said the concession model is adopted to ensure that private sector investors with the requisite technical competence and financial capability turn these zones into commercial hubs. Abolade Salami reports.
The operations of free trade or special economic zones in a number of jurisdictions are designed to attract foreign direct investments, generate employment, enhance trade and industrialization, promote exports, enhance foreign exchange earnings, as well as to encourage transfer of technical know-how. It's on this premise that the federal government, in its desire to accelerate the pace of economic growth in the country, plans to reform the two federal government-owned Calabar and Kano Free Trade Zones into world-class facilities through private sector investments.
Is to accelerate the implementation of the Nigerian Industrial Revolution Plan through the use of free trade zones in order to create jobs, promote exports, and boost growth and development. The ERDP envisages by 2025, through free trade zone reform, to boost manufacturing share of GDP to 20%, create 1.5 million jobs, generate $30 billion in annual export earnings.
Given the large investments required to transform the zones, stakeholders at this gathering submit that private sector investment is important to reduce government's financial burden and the associated business risk, as well as to introduce innovative ideas to the management and operational framework of the zones for improved performance in areas of economic growth, foreign direct investment, and export promotion.
In line with this mandate, the Bureau is desirous of showcasing two government-owned free trade zones, the Calabar Free Trade Zone and the Kano Free Trade Zone, both of which present very strong investment potentials for private sector investment, as well as innovative capacity to unlock and optimize the value of the facilities.
To me, it translates into showing that Nigeria is still ripe for foreign direct investment and internal investment. The space is very, very ripe. The federal government is committed. The policies are put in place, and we are ensuring that the commitment of private sector-led economic prospective, economic development for Nigeria is ensured and is achieved.
With the advent of the African Continental Free Trade Area, AFCFTA, key players believe it is imperative that the Calabar and Kano Free Trade Zones are revived and transformed into world-class standard to make them globally competitive. In Lagos, Abolade Salami.
So we move straight to the global scene where Boss Abel will be giving us updates.
Stocks in Asia were lower in Thursday trade as technology stocks sold off following overnight losses on Wall Street. Hong Kong's Hang Seng Index fell 1.87%. The Shanghai Composite was down 0.09%, and the Nikkei 225 in Japan dropped 1.77%. U.S. stock futures also traded lower early Thursday morning after the latest consumer price index data showed inflation is still running hot. The Dow Jones Industrial Average lost 0.4%, S&P 500 slipped 0.46%, and Nasdaq 100 slipped 0.7%. In Europe, stocks plunged as global markets digested the latest inflation reading out of the United States. The reading has sparked concerns that a path of aggressive rate hiking lies ahead. The DAX dropped 2.34% in early trade, with London's FTSE falling 2.32% and CAC 40 of France plunged 2.28%. In Africa, markets just opened and are yet to post numbers. However, expectations is that the global sentiment following the U.S. inflation figures is likely to affect the market.
Just to inform you that the market actually closed at 1.99%, the Nigerian stock market, the all-share index yesterday, and we are hopeful that the market will continue to improve based on investor sentiment. And on that note, we close the program for today. We value your feedback, so do join us again Friday for another edition of Business Express at 3 p.m. My name is Leah Katun. Bye-bye today.